One of the guys on the line brought up a good point about making these things handle. And one of the things I've noticed about my Enduro 24 deadbolt is it's very narrow, and this is going to be run on sand. And I do like the fact that it's longer than it is wide, because that's good for high-speed travel. But I don't like how narrow it is, because it's, like I said, it's going to run on sand, and it's probably going to be a little bit unstable with it being so narrow. So I'm thinking about putting some stamped steel wheels on it, inverted, so that the dish has the part of, it sits in deeper and it bumps them out. And the other thing is, it's a bigger tire than the one that's on it now, and would have a longer rollout and therefore a higher final drive. But I was looking at my deadbolts, and this is I'll put them together here. You can see that a stock deadbolt, when I put them on the ground next to each other, so we start at the same place, is quite a bit wider than the Enduro truck. So I do think I need to bump the axles a little wider. And normally I'm not too much of a fan of bumping the axles out, but I think in this case it's going to be necessary. Also, another thing I like about the mudslinger tires for a sand drag car is that they have some really big treads on them, and that'll grip in pretty hard. And I think that would just give a lot more grip. And I think it's always a pain in the butt getting these off of 5mm nuts, because I literally cannot put a wrench on there to get this wheel off. I have to take the wheel apart and then remove it from the inner hub, and then take the hub off after that, because then I can't get a wrench on it. So it'll take me probably at least, probably 20 to 40 minutes to get these wheels changed over to my other 5mm axle rig, and I'll have to reverse the process. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. By taking the wheel off the hub, I can just put a regular wrench on those bolts now, and they come right off, but you can't do it when the other screws are there. So super easy this way. I'll do the opposite and install them. I'll install the hubs onto the Enduro axles, and then I'll install the wheel onto the hub once it's already on the truck. Here's another thing I do on these stamped steel wheels. I install the nylon lock nut upside down, so that the tapered part goes into the axle, and then you can keep a hold of it with the wrench longer, and it just works easier. Try to zoom in on that tapered part down. 32 minutes and 14 seconds later, I have the wheels swapped car to car, and I can confirm that the HBX Devastator, the Enduro 24, and the Tetra 24 all use that same 5mm lug nut bolt. And you see that I put them in with the dishes inverted, so it's quite a bit wider now than the stock one was, and I'll show you that here with the SCX 24. Put them on the ground next to each other, pick them up, and where the Enduro axles used to be much narrower, now it's much wider. So that's going to give it a much better stance on the sand, and hopefully we'll keep the thing from flipping over when it gets going pretty fast, and I intend for it to do so. Another thing you may notice by looking is, if you're familiar with the mudslinger tires, they do have a directional pattern, and I intentionally put them on backwards so that they'll behave like a sand paddle. Keep in mind, it is a sand drag car, and I may have to now, well, maybe not. I think I'll clearance the rear axle just a little bit, just clearance this fender a little bit, just to keep it out of the tire. But maybe not that much. I'll just boat side it in a little bit, and then arch the top, and that should be fine. The HBX Devastator always gets the crappiest parts because if it has something good, I end up using it on some other rig, and that's because it just isn't the best crawler. I mean, it's got a lot of cool stuff. It has a great four-wheel steer system, but it's just not a good crawler. It's too long, and it bottoms out going over peaks a lot. So, sorry, Devastator, you lose again. But I really like the way this is turning out now. I think I'm going to have something for the sand drags next year, and I'm hoping that I haven't just intimidated everybody out of the class and that nobody wants to compete with it. I probably have, but I guess that's kind of like getting a submission in UFC. If you can break their will, it's just as good as winning, I suppose. But I do like to compete, and I hope somebody has something for it. Just a couple of minor changes in this since the last shot. I clearanced the front just a little bit, and that'll keep the wheels out of the body up here if I hit the gas. And I also need to make sure that I need to probably clearance that bumper a little bit in the front too. I'll get that done because tread's hitting the bumper there. I don't want this thing flipping because it catches the tire on the body. The other thing is my deadbolt now has, I'm going to call it a speed crease right here, and it has another one right here, and that is to kind of avoid having to cut out too much of the body. It looks cool, why not? Gives the deadbolt a little bit of a fast look. And there's one other thing I want to do to the body that I think may actually help it when it comes time to race, and I'll do that next, and after I clearance this bumper, and this thing should be ready to go together tomorrow. So I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. Yeah, I'm just going to taper that right out there. This used to be a Betty bumper that I've cut, and I still think it looks cool. I'm going to keep it, but like I said, with my RCs, nothing is sacred. So that is going to be the case for this as well. It's going to be fast though.